our IBASA and EPI Webinar Series. Today we are covering the support that's available, the relief for small businesses due to the COVID-19 pandemic here in South Africa. Welcome, we have a full house and we're looking forward to an informative webinar. So keep your pen ready too, because we're going to share some links for you with some important resources towards the end of the webinar. We are a full house, so it will be quite busy, but you can put your comments in the text chat if you want to make comments or participate with others in the debate there. You may do so. We actually encourage a parallel discussion to be happening there. So if you haven't opened the text chat button, do so please, and put your comments in there, and then use the Q&A button, which is in the same bar for you to post your questions. In the room here today, we've got two people that are very involved in the relief from different perspectives, of course, and those are the perspectives that we would like to cover in the form of Don Mashele. He's the Head of Development Impact Support at Sefa, the Small Enterprise Finance Agency. He's got over 25 years experience, starting off as a business advisor in the field, and then working with banks like Standard Bank and with Kula over the time. Currently very involved in the COVID-19 pandemic relief efforts, both from Sefa and then of course from the Department of Small Business Development. And we're looking forward to get his input to learn more about how those schemes are working. And we also have in the room Nicolene Scholtz, who's a professional accountant, very active for more than 15 years supporting small businesses now, and has from another perspective, which is trying to support small businesses in accessing these relief funds, have experience. And we're looking forward to hear from her what her experience is in that front, as well as what people can do when they don't qualify for those relief. We also have IBASA Chair Tumelo Chotetsi in the room, and Andre Duprier, the IBASA MD, who will be sharing towards the end of the webinar some news from IBASA. And I know that as Chair, Tumelo has got some important announcements to make. And today we will cater for something different that we haven't done in the past, and that is towards the end of the webinar, the last half an hour, we'll add another half an hour, in fact, for open mic for us who are working in isolation, just to connect and share and maybe describe what we are doing to keep supporting our small business clients during this time. So that's enough for introductions. I'm going to ask that Don and Nicolene please switch on your cameras that we can see you. Thanks, Nicolene. Don, if you can just click that button too. And then I need to stop my screen share so that we can see you guys. So welcome, Don and Nicolene. Thank you very much for making your time available to share your insights with us. This is a very important topic for a lot of us. In fact, it's kind of survival. Earlier this week on Tuesday, I was part of an online discussion with practitioners, and we were fortunate to have Dr. Mark Vella in the room sharing with us the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, and as well as the impact of that on small businesses. Quite significant impact on all businesses, most businesses, and perhaps to the degree that we don't know yet how it is going to affect our clients, which makes it really difficult to support them. But here there are relief available, and this is the focus of the discussion today. There are, of course, other ways that we as practitioners need to sort out how we support businesses too, and one of those is to connect with other practitioners. So if you haven't joined that group, you may do so too. We can share the information about that a bit later on. But let's move over to Don. And Don, so if you can give us just a bit of an overall picture, a broad picture of why this is such an important topic for us to cover, and the Department of Small Business Development with its agency, CEDA and Sefa, has had a response, and explain to us exactly, what that response is and how people may access it. Then we can later on move over to Nicolene in terms of the other schemes that are available. But before we do so, I'm going to ask that you participate in a poll in terms of the knowledge that you have, and it will pop up on your screen. So you'll see there's a question there asking you to identify how familiar you are with these different schemes. And if you're familiar enough with it to advise others, you can click it and vote there. It's segmented into government schemes, other government initiatives, and then private sector initiatives. It's quite a bit. So I'm going to keep the poll open for you to vote. And thanks, Carol, for sharing there with us the different schemes. So you'll also be able to see it on screen. You can see there, it's a good page full and can be very confusing. So when the poll window pops up, please participate in voting there. The question there is do you have sufficient information to help others in decision making around this? And you can click those that you know about and am aware of in terms of supporting other entrepreneurs. Can I just check? I see there's activity happening now. So if it's not popped up yet, it will come soon. By the way, we're connecting, all of us are connecting through Amsterdam, so the underwater cables are very busy today. There may be some latency issues. It may take a while for things to come through on your side. But I'm going to keep the poll open while we introduce Don. So Don, if I can ask you, I'm not sure if your camera is now shared. Yes, your camera is. So you're unmuted, so we can hear you. Hi, Don. Welcome to our webinar today.
Thank you, Chris, the panelists, and everybody participating today. Before I can continue, just to make sure that is everything okay. Am I audible enough?
Yes, we hear you well. And when you need your slides to come up, you can just say so, then Carol will bring it up for us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think just brief background. Why we do what we're doing. Remember now, we've got the Department of Small Business Development with its agencies, Sefa and SEDA. And this period that you are in, it's unprecedented. It has never happened in our lifetime where we have to find ourselves in lockdown because of this pandemic. So what it definitely means is that small businesses will definitely be affected by this. Some businesses will be affected in a positive way. What I mean by that, some businesses that are providing commodities, goods, and services that can help us fight this pandemic, they'll have to scale up. And I'll talk about the program that we've got for those type of businesses. But the majority of businesses are going to be affected in a negative way. And to save jobs that those businesses have created, we had to intervene as a department, as an agency of department. And again, I will share the program that we've got to support those businesses. And lastly, we also have to support our own clients as a Sefa. I'm sure you might have experienced out there in the market that banks and other lenders have to protect the portfolio that they have to make sure that businesses don't just close down and then we lose the money that we have invested in those businesses. So that is by way of brief background. And if you can share the slides, then I can go straight into my presentation. Yeah, so definitely this is what I was talking about, that we've got three types of interventions, so to speak. The first one is the business growth. We support those businesses that are saying we need to provide whatever commodities that are needed for this period. And we've got a special scheme to support those businesses. We've got a relief, like I said before, relief finance. Some businesses are constrained in terms of cash flow. We've got a special scheme to support those type of businesses. And lastly, our own portfolio. But what we have seen, because this type of the environment like this creates a lot of challenges. So we need to make sure, because we've got a lot of applications that are coming in, and our due diligence and scrutinizing of these applications, we need to make sure that the money that we provide out there, it's definitely used for the purpose intended. Before we move to the next slide, what I would like to say, it doesn't mean that as a department, these are the only interventions. I'm talking about these three interventions today because these are the ones that are out there in the market. We are in the process putting together other interventions, but they haven't been live in the market. Like for instance, we need to support the informal traders, the spaza shops, we need to support guys that, the hawkers, we need to support the self-employed, etc., etc. So we will keep, as we finalize programs, we'll keep rolling them out. but the ones that we're discussing and must focus on today are the ones that we do know that are out there in the market. After this discussion, then you guys can start helping some of your clients to access these programs. Next slide. Now, the business growth, like I said, we want to support those businesses that need to expand. One reason or the other, because they are saying those businesses are providing products or commodities in the health space or in the food sector. Remember now with this pandemic and the lockdown in particular, there are certain things that we'll need in the medical space. If I give an example of the product that we all know, sanitizers as an example, there is a big demand for sanitizers. There'll be big demand for the ventilators. There'll be a demand for the masks, etc., etc. So all those protective clothing, as an example, businesses that are in there, they need to scale up. So we've got a funding for those type of businesses. Now, when you look at other sector, which is not the health type of products and services, the food sector, we will also need to increase our capacity when it comes to the food sector. Because remember now, both in the food sector and in the medical space, each and every country now, they are looking after their own. So you don't have the luxury of imports. A lot of countries now are saying we have closed down, we're looking after our own. So this is more like an opportunity, so to speak, to build our capacity. And we are not looking at COVID and the lockdown as a department, as Sefa, because we do know that post this, we'll have built a capacity that needs to continue going forward. So we are supporting those type of businesses to build those the capacity, and then we're able to continue post the lockdown and post COVID-19 challenge. Now, the funding terms, slightly the previous slide before you go to the next slide, thank you. The funding terms, we provide direct costs for stock, it could be for bridging finance, it could be for purchase orders, or it could be funding equipment. The repayment of the loan, when you put a package or an application for that, you'll need to give us cash flows. So like any other lender, we look at the cash flows because we cannot be strict to say you have to repay the loan in 3 months, 12 months, whatever the tenure is, but we need to look at your cash flow and be able to say, let's structure the funding in line with your cash flow. So as you assist businesses out there, you need to build a realistic cash flow to make sure that we are able to say you'll repay the loan based on those cash flows. And I think it's important to emphasize also that these are loans, are not grants. These are loans, very, very soft loans, which we provide out there at prime -5, fixed, irrespective of the level of risk that we see in the business. We can't price for risk. We don't have that luxury. So what we do is that we're saying it's prime -5. It's a very soft loan. And then people that apply and they don't use the money for the purpose intended, because we'll be doing monitoring. We'll make sure that people apply for the loan and use for the facility for the purpose intended. If we find out there was some unscrupulous behavior, so to speak, then we will obviously recall those facilities and you have to repay them at prime +10. Next slide. Right, who's eligible to apply for the funding? The first point, you saying that it must be those businesses where you see opportunity because of this. You are solving the problem for the country. Number one. Number two, it must be 100% owned business by a South African citizen. So for you to apply, the company that is applying has to be 100% owned by South African citizens. And the third one is 70% of the employees have to be South African. So when you look at the company in terms of your mix, labor in terms of staff, 70% have to be South African. And then we do, like most development funding institutions, we do prioritize women, youth, and people with disabilities. It doesn't mean that we can do any other one except for that. It's just an issue of priority. The other one, you need to be tax compliant and then also with UIN. And you must have registered We have got what we call an SME national database, which is www.smmesa.gov.za. So all applications that or businesses that intend applying for this relief funds, because we need to collect data, we need to collect stats, you need to register on that database, and then you get a reference number. But later on in my presentation, I'll talk about the access. Next slide. Now, this I won't go through the whole list, but maybe I should, because it's not a big list. When you assist clients out there, it's very crucial to make sure that they provide us with all the supporting documentation. Because if you don't give us all the documents and then we put that application aside, we move to the next application. So this is a list of the things that we do require. Number one, we have simplified our application form. You will see that the application form that we will share, or you can go online, you can actually download that application form after registering on the SME database. It's a very simplified 3-4 page application form. The other thing is that you need to give us all the documents in terms of registration compliance documents like CIPC, SARS, and CSD. CSD is optional, you don't have to be registered with CSD, but if you are registered with CSD, which is the Central Supply Database, it helps to give us that kind of information. Because we need to figure the applications, we still need those, your proof of address, it can be a municipal account, a letter from the traditional authority, give us ID documents. In terms of bank statements, we only require 3 months bank statements. Number F is very important. When we talk about latest financial statements and all management accounts, it's very much important simply because the businesses that we do support under the growth scheme, they have to be viable type of businesses. And then the business profile, we need to give us that because we're not looking for a very complicated business plan. So the high level profile, we understand the type of business and the commodities that you do provide. The execution plan, if you are saying you want to establish not establish or expand a factory that's going to provide sanitizers as an example, then you need to give us more like a high level plan, how you're going to do that to supply those type of commodities. 6 months cash flow projections with clear assumptions where applicable. Certification, most of these products, remember, if you provide these products, they have to be certified by somebody. So you need to give us that. Some of the guys that we do support, they've got contracts or purchase orders. And then you just think, you need also, as the last thing, give us an estimate in terms of the amount that you're looking for. Because we can't get quotations, just give us an estimate. And then maybe later on, once you've approved your facility towards disbursement, we can get those type of quotations. Next slide. Application process, how you apply. Like I said, people must register on the database, which is up there. And then once you have registered, you will get a reference number. And then you complete a fillable application form, very simplified application form. And then once you have completed that application form, you then email it at bizgrowth@sefa.org.za with all, and I must emphasize, with all supporting documentation. So that is the application process for the business growth facility. Next slide. Let's talk about the relief now. This is another program. Here we're talking about those businesses that are negatively impacted by this lockdown and COVID. So those are the businesses that some of them have closed down or not closed down, but on lockdown, so to speak. Or maybe the turnover has gone down because you don't get the traffic or the foot traffic as you get in a normal environment. So we've got also soft loan for those type of businesses where we provide them with soft funding, maybe to pay your workers or to pay the rent, but it's working capital items that we will fund through this. We can't fund equipment for obvious reasons. It's working capital just to keep the business afloat until we've gone through this difficult period. So in there, we talk about a maximum of 500,000. We can't do anything above that. And we do give moratorium. If we provide you with a loan, we give you a maximum of 6 months. We can give you a holiday because we don't know when this lockdown is going to come to an end. We also don't know when we're going to win this war against this pandemic. Interest rate is the same as the previous facility, prime -5, with a penalty rate of prime +10 if you do things that are not good. Who qualifies? You must be negatively affected by the coronavirus or the lockdown. And again, like the previous program, you need to be 100% South African as an applicant. 70% of the workers have to be South African. Again, we prioritize youth, women, and people with disabilities. And you need to be compliant with the institutions like SARS and UIF. And again, you also do have to register on the database. If you go to the next slide. Right, the application requirements, very, very similar. But the most critical part, you have to demonstrate, you have to prove to us that you were affected by the Corona-19 pandemic or the lockdown. Because and I think we need to also emphasize this, we cannot support businesses that were not trading profitably before this period in any event. And we'll pick that up when we look at your financials and management accounts. It's very much important to provide those up-to-date management accounts or financial statements, because in there we're able to see if this business was trading profitably before this period. So we cannot support businesses that were having challenges anyway, because the reason they have got those challenges is not because of the situation that we face. It could be some other issues. So we are targeting to help those businesses that were trading okay before the challenge. So in terms of the application requirements, very, very similar to the previous program. But like I said, you need to demonstrate that you have been negatively affected and you do need the relief. The next slide, application process, again, similar. You have to apply on the database, complete the form. The only difference though here is that you email is a different email address. Here you've got smerelief@sefa.org.za. So at the top of the form, it will tell you if it's for the growth, it will give you the email address that you need to email an application form and all supporting documentation. And if it's for the relief, it will give you this email address where you need to submit application forms and all the relevant documentation. So that is I think that is that. In terms of exclusions, there's certain businesses that we don't fund. Like I said, if you're not affected by the coronavirus issue, we can't fund. We can't fund startups because really this is not a time to do those type of things. And that is the end of my presentation. Contact details, Sefa, it's our normal website. You can just go on our website there to get more details. Our call center, unfortunately, our call center guys are operational. So if you dial our call center, we'll be able to assist you. And the 2 email addresses for the 2 programs are in there. Thank you very, very much.
Great, thanks Don, for that comprehensive overview of the Sefa related, that's the Department of Small Business Development's initiatives. And as you say, it's aimed at businesses that needs the relief due to the pandemic. Of course, businesses face normal situations too. So some of the questions that came up, by the way, we've got, it was just over 70 people, I think, just now on Facebook too, apart from the 100 in the room. So clearly there's a lot of need for information around how to apply for the relief. One of the questions posted on the Facebook page relates to existing Sefa clients. So do existing Sefa clients get a fast track, or do you allow specifically for them to be helped first? That's the question, since they're already in the pipeline there.
Thank you, Chris. Remember that the existing Sefa clients don't access the programs that I spoke about. So if you're an existing Sefa client, you can access, you can probably access the growth fund if you want to expand. It's a different, because that is a positive thing. But now, if our existing clients can't access the relief fund, because what we do, we will have to look at the arrangement that we've got and restructure their payments. So in that way, you do get some relief, at the end of it, because if you get your debt restructured by Sefa, it does relieve some cash flow somewhere. Okay.
Okay. Good. I hope that's an answer for that question. By the way, if you have questions, click the Q&A button and put your question there. I see Jessica, Zulfa, Sabine, Nish, thanks for putting your questions in there already. We hope we have time to come to all the questions. And I must just say that there's a lot of detail involved here. So Don has spoken about very specific programs. There's a lot of more of them, and that we covered in the poll. So by the way, if you look at what I've shared, the results of the poll, you'll see that a good 68% of us in the room, of the 100 business advisors in the room, say that they know enough about the debt relief fund. So they've been able to get information about that quite consistently, although the resilience facilities and the starter shop and IDC and the tourism relief fund and so on, it's less, down to 21%, and then agriculture is even less. Also, it looks like from the receiver of revenue side, the temporary relief scheme, a lot of us, 2/3 of us know about that, as well as the pay-as-you-earn scheme, while some of the other related funds for support and relief is less well known, like the VAT exemptions. And by the way, I saw there's already a question around the VAT exemptions. Now, I must just warn you that all of us in the room aren't experts on all of these funds, but we did create a resource, and I've pasted a link for you in the text chat. I'll paste it again. So if you just look in the text chat, you'll see there's a link there of a resource that we created for us to share the information that we have. So that resource already contains most of these funds and schemes that are listed. It's fast changing. Every day there's some new information being added or changed. I've heard that some of these funds are already oversubscribed. So as the information progresses, you can use that resource to get updated information. In fact, if you see something in that, it's in a table format, if you see some information that's maybe outdated by the time that you read it, you may add a note there so that it can be corrected too. But perhaps just coming back to the poll results, so that's in terms of government. And then there's also, of course, the private sector initiatives, and Nicolene will talk a bit more about some of those just now, because she's been applying on behalf of her small business clients for many of these relief funds. And I see there, we're quite confident in terms of the offering through the banks, including the SA Futures Trust, so 71% of us say that we're okay with the banks, but the rest of the private sector initiatives we are less sure about. So the information that we can share here is definitely something very important. So I see, Don, you've raised your hand. You wanted to add something in there?
Yes, thank you, Chris. I think what I wanted to say is that the SPASA program, we're still finalizing it. We actually had meetings again this morning. So in the next week, we will be taking it to market. So I think that is why people don't know much about it. So once we know about it, then we'll share the information.
Great stuff. Good. So let's do another poll. I'm sorry, if you're on Facebook, you can follow us, but you can't participate in the poll. But maybe you can just type in the text chat what you think the situation is here around the ability of your clients, the small businesses, and if you are a small business signing in yourself, you can vote in terms of your own situation too. What percentage of small businesses are expected to survive the COVID lockdown? So we're talking about the lockdown here, not the full pandemic, because as we know, we don't know, the effect of the pandemic is still to be seen. And that makes the uncertainty of that, of course, makes it really difficult in working with small businesses and advising them in terms of the next steps they can take. But in terms of overcoming the 3-week lockdown that we have now, what percentage of small businesses will be able to survive that? If you can vote there, the poll window would have popped up on your screen. If you don't see it, it's probably hidden behind another window on your desktop, so you can just tap through the windows, you'll find it there. What percentage of small businesses will survive the lockdown? And while we talk about it, this is what I realized in our lockdown discussion with Dr. Mark Vella on Tuesday, is that he made a comment that was kind of took my breath away a bit. His comment was, we're about 30 people in the room. He said, be prepared. All 30 of you are most likely to actually eventually have the virus. So we must understand that the lockdown is the lockdown to lower the curve so that government and all other institutions in the medical field can get prepared for a lot of people arriving for help. So, but we're talking about the lockdown here specifically. So you can vote there. At the moment, between 25 and 49% of businesses are expected to survive, we say. And we about half of us are on that. I'm going to end the poll now. So if you want to vote, quickly vote. Okay, we're ending the poll, and I'll share the result with you too. 45% of us say that between 25 and 49% are expected to survive, and another 30% say between 50 and 75. In fact, 35% say more than half will survive. 35% of us say more than half of small businesses will survive. I'm going to repeat that. In fact, 65% of us say that half or more of small businesses are not going to survive the 3-week lockdown. That's quite significant. So the relief is really needed, and access to that is key for what we need to prepare for beyond the 3 weeks too. Really a time for us as a community that are supporting small businesses to come together in making the best that we can. So I know IBASA will later on share with us ability for linking practitioners with entrepreneurs during this time through the IBASA website. So please stay on for that. But let's get back to the detail of the relief. And Nicolene, I'm going to ask that you switch on your camera for us. And we can see you. And while you do that, I'll paste the link to the resource that the EPI created for sharing information around the detailed information. So for instance, some of the questions, I can't put my finger on that now, but some of the questions are related to the detail of where to apply and what the detailed conditions are or expectations are for people to meet in applying for that relief. And as we saw in the list before, it's quite a lot of them. So I'm not sure, Carl, if you're ready perhaps to share that slide with us again with all the relief on, just as a reminder. It's kind of like a minefield. I'm sorry to jump onto you like that before we go on to Nicolene. Just to see the magnitude of kinds of support available, and that is available for you to get more information on through that resource that we have. I'm sorry, Carl, for jumping onto you like that. Yeah, but there you are. So government funds, other government initiatives and private sector initiatives. So that's like a 30-odd relief schemes. Nicolene, that's quite confusing, eh?
Yeah, it's a lot, but yeah.
So you are working directly with small businesses in helping them to navigate through this and applying for some of the relief.
Yeah, as a professional accountant, and I have my own business, I just want to correct that it's NNS professional accountants. Yeah, we try to help them with the best possible way and the quickest way. The quickest way is actually the quickest way to get the application in, because there's so many funds and, how can I say, options, that the thing is you have to make a quick decision to get your application in, so that you know where are you going. Do you have a plan B if plan A fails? So yeah, we are doing a lot of applications, talking to clients, helping them to make decisions which fund is the best for them, or which ways to go, because a lot of them do have employees. So yeah, that is what we do at this stage.
Yeah, so you've prepared some insights for us in terms of some of these, you know, like the tax relief and pay as you earn. And so I saw Zulfa asked there about the VAT 201 payment relief and so on. Would you be able to give us an overview of what you found? So we're not expecting a comprehensive summary, but you're covering with that for us in what you can present. So just say when you want your slides to come up to. And then if we may also, I'm not sure how you would want to cover that, but some of your clients will not comply to the requirements, but they are badly affected. So maybe you can also, you know, after sharing with us your experience with the funds and application and so on, also just share with us, you know, sort of how you see that dealing with that dilemma. And just tell us when you want your slides, then Carl can bring them up.
Okay, let us start with my slides, and I can get it going. Right, you can go to the next slide.
Okay, did I make a mistake in terms of your company's name?
Yes, it's NNS Professional Accountants.
sorry for that.
There you guys can just see where I'm coming from. I am a professional accountant at Sefa, and I've got like 16 years experience. So we've got a lot of services, financial planning, trust administration. We've got our own MPO, Section 18A registered, where we help animal shelters. So that's a bit of a background of me. So you can go to the next slide. Right, plan A, when this crisis hit us, government was, making some, give us some options to relieve and to help, our small businesses to keep the good businesses going. And I mean, a business without employees aren't a business. So I look at the poll and I see there's a lot of people that's familiar with the temporary employee relief scheme. So I'm not going to focus much on that. What in my slide you can see is the criteria, all the info that you need to give them. The most important thing that I picked up is a lot of people asks me, what about TASH or UIF? At this stage, UIF is really flooded with applications. Their offices aren't open, so they're really struggling to work on all these UIF, applications. And the website is also not very helpful. You're finding we have really problems with that. So we normally advise our clients rather to go to the temporary, to TASH. It's quick, it's easy. And I've done a lot of applications yesterday. You do get feedback. You get a mail back that states, listen, thank you very much. We have received your application. Now you can apply for UIF. There's the few forms that I just put out there. I just want to make it clear here that there is some places where you have to be compliant with. First of all, you have to be registered with UIF. Now people get really confused about the SARS number they have, because it starts with a U and then it's almost the rest of your pay-as-you-earn number. And then you have a number at the Department of Labor. Now, they don't want your SARS UIF number. They want your Department of Labor number. So just make sure that you give them the right number. And most of all, you need to be compliant. That's the most thing, up to date with your UIF paid. So, but UIF, you can, even if you are totally shut down for the coronavirus, you can apply for UIF as well. So you don't have to only give them a reduced work time, that they still work, but you can claim UIF still if they don't, if they're not working. How I advise my clients to go around UIF is, there's some of the clients that are quite sure that they're not going to open after this. So then we tell them rather go the UIF route, okay? Because the temporary employment relief fund is actually for 3 months. Where the UIF, if you know that people aren't coming back, it might help them a stretch better. They say up to 6 months. So where the TASH fund is only up to 3 months, okay? I'm going to explain to you guys, I see a lot of people don't know how the QEDA works, the workers' compensation applications. What happens is, if you have an employee that was employed by you and while they were working for you, they got the coronavirus, they can go and apply to workers' compensation fund as well for money. Now, the thing is, the most important thing is, I know that people don't like workers' compensation, because in some sectors, they don't work with dangerous equipment, but it's still very important. So you have to make sure that you are up to date with your QEDA as well, before that employee can go and claim. Now, the TASH fund, I'm just going quickly, you can see what is the application documentation that they need. there's only a difference between if you have more than 10 employees and if you have 10 employees. If you have more than 10 employees, you have to do the MOA. Now, the MOA quickly just states that you have to tell them what you did with the money. You have to show them that you paid your employees really with that money. And they pay out a minimum wage between 3,500 and the maximum is 17,712 rand. So that is what they pay out. They've got a scale between 38% and 60% that they will pay you out. Not will, but what they can pay you out. And then if you have more than 10 employees, you have to give 6 months proof of payroll, and you have to give them 3 months bank statements. Not only a confirmation of the bank account or 3 months payroll if you have less than 10 employees. So that is actually the difference. And then if you're working together with a bargaining council, because they also use this fund, you have to go and open a separate bank account for the TASH funding to be paid in. Okay, we can go to the next slide. ETI, I see a lot of people ask for ETI. I actually listened last night to a YouTube video that SARS made regarding the ETI. And there was a lot of confusion about the 6,500 wage, because a person that earns 6,500 Rand does not pay tax at all. So where does the 500 Rand tax relief came in? And where it comes in was with the ETI, okay? So what they did is they actually, the age to claim ETI is actually between 18 and 29. So what they did is you could have deducted 1,000 Rand in the first year. So they just up it now to 1,500, okay? That's where that 500 Rand, where you get that. And then there was the other where they up it from 500 to 1,000. So they actually just up every scale with the 500 Rand. So it's not physical tax back in your pocket. It is actually that you can give your employees, but people were thinking it was like a tax relief. And it is not a tax relief, it's an ETI relief. So you pay less pay as you earn so that you can give that 500 Rand to your employees. And then they added an extra age gap, the 30 to 65 age that's not there initially on ETI. So, and then the effectiveness only came in now, the 1st of April. So it will only be starting for your payroll for April till the end of July. So it's also like a 3 to 4 month up they gave with 500 Rand. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Okay, then everybody was the employees tax proposal. I see that a lot of people are familiar with it, that you can, but it's only for businesses that has a turnover that does not exceed 50 million, okay? So what they actually just did is they said, okay, fine, you can declare your 100%, but you only have to pay 80%. And then that 20% lapse, you can pay it off in equal installments over 6 months, starting from the 1st of August. But I can see a lot of people are familiar with it, so I don't want to stuck with it. So it's a bit of a relief, but at the end of the day, you still need to pay that 20%. It's not money that you get back. You still have to pay it. So just keep that in mind as well. And the commencement date is also from the 1st of April, meaning your first pay-as-you-earn payment for April is the 7th of May. So it's also only a 4-month period. Why they say at the end of January is because you have to pay your deferred pay-as-you-earn, you have to pay it off over 6 months, and the 6 months is the end of January. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Right. Provisional tax and corporate tax. I just want to explain to people the difference between the two. They're actually one, but people get confused. They think provisional tax is the extra tax that you have to pay. Now, provisional tax is a tax that you pay twice a year. That is also, it's calculated on your estimate profit that you're going to make. But it has to be very accurate. So your first one won't be that accurate, but the second one must be almost 99.9% accurate. So you provision for your corporate tax at the end of the financial year. So during the year, every 6 months, you actually contribute to your corporate tax. So at the end of the year, if you get taxed, then they bring into calculation your provisional tax, and you only have to pay that amount less the provisional tax. So say, for instance, your total tax is 100 Rand, and you pay during the year 80 Rand, you only have to pay in 20 Rand. So that is how provisional tax works, because a lot of people think it is an extra tax that you have to pay. So what they only did here is they said, okay, the first provisional tax payment, which is normally due in August if you have a February financial year end, you only have to pay 15% of your estimate tax liability, okay? Then your second provisional tax period normally is by year end, okay? So if you have February, that's your year end, it will be February 2021, you only have to pay 65% of your tax liability. And then they say the balance of 35%, you can pay it like, they call it a top-up payment. Now, a top-up payment is normally 6 months after year end, depending which month is your year end, because some year ends are 5 months. And again, your turnover must not exceed 50 million. And they are very strict about it. They say last night that if the people are not going to comply to that rule, or any of the rules, they're not going to pay as they should pay, they're going to hit them with penalties and interest, and they're going to take away the relief from them. And most of all is you have to be tax compliant. So you can see the effective date again is from the 1st of April to September, and then the second provisional tax from the 1st of April to 31 March 2021, depending on how's your year end, on which date is it, February, is it March, it depends on your year end. Right, next slide. Okay, obviously, if you, I'm still not familiar, I know there's a lot of VAT questions, VAT exemptions on the essential goods, and the reduction of UIF and STL. I have not have much info about that yet. So we work with it as the questions comes in. I know they have put that out there, but it seems like they haven't enrolled out the whole process as yet. So we are looking at that as well. But I'm not familiar now to give you guys a clear indication of that. But sure, what if Plan A doesn't work? You apply and you don't get money. So because there is no guarantees. First of all, I see guys already go to the bank and ask for payment holidays. I just want to make something clear here. Make sure that you get a letter from your bank stating that they did approve your payment holiday, so that it doesn't have a negative influence on your credit check. Because most of the people say that it will have a negative impact, but I asked the bank if it will, and they said no, if you have a letter giving you that holiday, then you will be fine. Then I tell people, really guys, it's a crisis. So what is your essentials, what you need? You need to have money to buy food. You need to have, if you want to give your employees something, at least give them something to go and buy food. Because food is the main thing we need. And then obviously we need a little bit of petrol to go and get that food, or a taxi fee, or a bus fee, or what they can to go and get that food. So that's why I always say to the people, try to hold onto your cash. Don't try and put it on expenses or pay unnecessary expenses. Avoid it, but try to give them money for food, and yourself as well. Try to see that you have cash to survive and get your food. Now, a lot of landlords, they also give options that you can use your deposit to pay the rent, and then you just, if you get money again, you can just put money back to up that deposit again. Then employees, I know there's a lot of employees where the people don't even know that they can get UIF, or the employer can apply for TASH. What I say to the employees, please talk to your employer. they need to really reach out to the employees and really try to help them where they can. I have a question of somebody that really was upset about their income protectors that's not giving them money at this stage to survive. But the question is, and I want to add what Christoph said, there's a good possibility that you might get the virus, okay? So then if you have the virus, you can claim from your income protector, because it is if you have that dreadful disease cover in it. I spoke to our financial planner that's working with us, and he said to me that that is where your income protector comes in, because a lot of people want to cancel it now because they can't get money from it because of the lockdown. But just think about further, if you have the virus, how are you going to work? You can't work. So that is a possibility that your income protector can pay you out so that you can still go on. And then everybody is negative, I know it, but if we can take something positive out of it, and I'm really giving a lot of seminars and webinars to people regarding how to budget and how to make a living. And, you know, I would say the positive thing that you guys can take out of this is start saving. Start saving and have a backup of about 3 months' salary, rather in a savings account or even in a unit trust, but start saving. And that is a positive thing we can take out of it. It's not going to help you now, but in future, then you are geared for any bad situation. So from my side, just look at the essentials, what you need, and that is food. So concentrate on that and talk to the people where you can, you know, get a bit of a holiday that you can save cash for food. And that's all.
Yeah, well, most important, I think, you know, sort of, so we can Google quickly relief funds and maybe find some of the information that we need, even some of the questions that are being posted both on Facebook and in the Zoom Q&A. But your plan B, Nicolene, there's something that not everyone is talking about. It's like rushing off to get the relief. Well, there are other things to do too. And specifically as business advisors, maybe some of our people in the room may be able to guide us in terms of that too. So if there are questions around that kind of support too, we can deal with it. By the way, as any attendee in the Zoom room can contribute towards the answers that are posted there. So we already have like 25 or something questions there. We're definitely not going to be able to attend to the detail of all of it. And perhaps between Nicolene and Don and ourselves in the room, we may not even know the detail that's being asked. So as an attendee, if you click on the Q&A button and you scroll through those questions, you may, from your experience, know something to share there too, and you can do so. I know, Nicolene, you're on your iPad, so, or your phone, so it's typing there may be difficult, but there's some very astute and pointed questions around detail that I definitely do not know, and perhaps that, but perhaps that you may. So if you scroll, and Don, if I can ask that you perhaps also switch on your camera so that we can address some of these questions, and unmute yourself. I can unmute you, but if you can just switch on your camera there, yes, please. And perhaps, Carl, if we can go to gallery view, then we can see both Nicolene and Don in the room. So we've got quite a few questions. I'm not sure, Don, if there's some of those I see. Thank you very much. Don has started to answer some of the questions by typing the text in. So if you were following those questions, you would be able to see that Don has actually added some text chat. So we can assume those being answered. Don, thank you very much for that. But are there any of the other questions that you are specifically wanting to speak to? I see, you know, sort of Nishi, for instance, asks about the difference between loans and grants. You know, sort of there are questions around percentage, if a percentage of the shareholders are non-South African, whether they would comply to the requirements, you know, sort of, I think Zulfa said 18% of the business that she's working with are non-South Africans. Would that disqualify them? Those kind of questions, you know, sort of, yeah, Lynn asked, and I think you already answered that, around new business sort of the ability for the business growth facility to actually be applied for new businesses too. But I'll leave it up to you to kind of identify which of those you would like to tackle first. The whole list of them are there. And let me just reiterate, if attendees in the room are free to make use of that facility to comment there too, if you've experienced something. We do realize that there are people in the room that are active in the field and that may have some light to shine on some of those questions too. And then Lennox and Carlos and some others also asked about the sharing of the information afterwards. So we are making a recording, and that recording will be available to everyone. And everyone that registered, even those that aren't attending here today, will receive the link to that recording. So you'll be able to see all the detail that was shared in the slides in that way, just to put that point at ease. And then also to reiterate, I said it before, but you can subscribe to that resource that we created, the framework, which will be updated through the participation of all of us, since we know that things are changing so fast. So I'm just putting that link again for you in the text chat as well on Facebook. If you're following on Facebook, you will see the link there. And the detail of information, like requirements and so on, that some of the questions are relating to are covered there. So sorry, that was quite a bit of a long kind of introduction to the Q&A session. So Nicolene, I'll come to you just now too, if any of those questions are specific that you would like to address, but let's first go to Don.
Thanks, Chris. I'll just try to scroll the questions so that I don't lose. I've just seen the one that says, does anyone know of a relief for sole props? Sole props is one of the programs that we are finalizing again, because sole props is more like for the self-employed. So we are finalizing a relief for the sole props that we will bring into the market, I'm sure, sometime next week. There was a question about the shareholding. We're saying 100% of the business must be owned by South Africans, so it's there in the criteria. I've responded to some of the questions. Chris, if you can help me identify some where you need me to respond.
Okay, so the thing about soft loans and grants, if you can maybe just...
Oh yes, thank you, Chris, for that. Thank you so much. A grant, it's not repayable. So a grant, it's a grant. A soft loan is it's repayable. It's soft in a sense that we are saying, irrespective of the nature of the risk in the business, is prime -5. So once you qualify for funding, it's prime -5. It's very, very cheap loan, but it is repayable because we, as you know, we're getting this money from Treasury. We need to sustain the program to make sure that we're able to help the next person. So a grant is not repayable, but these are loans which are repayable, but very soft.
Okay. So Nicolene, did you fall on a question that you would like to tackle?
I see there's a lot of questions regarding Dash. I just want to say to you guys that spreadsheet, there's an email address. If you email it to the email address, they send to you back the sheets and everything. But if you have a payroll system, like I know Sage is working on it, that they give you an update, and then you can actually just download that sheet that they ask and send it through to them. Then I was seeing somebody was asking about the VAT relief on payments. There's nothing they do. I haven't picked up anything about the VAT relief. I only saw the pay-as-you-earn relief. The only relief I saw was VAT supply on essential foods. That's the only thing I see, but I haven't seen anything where they say of the VAT payment. That's what I picked up. And then somebody that asked me what fund is going to pay out quicker, Dash or UIF? My quite honest answer to you guys is we don't know. They have so many applications coming in that I advise my clients that you don't have control of your application, that they must just let me know, because we give out their contact details if they receive something or somebody contacted them. So I can't really say UIF or Tash, but I think, in my personal opinion, maybe Tash.
So
That's what I
Anika,
picked up.
yeah. So that experience is important, and as we go along, we learn. So please participate in building that framework that we have, everyone. Your experiences count a lot here because as things evolve, we get to know what works and what doesn't. So Anika is asking, Nicolene, sorry, Anika is asking if the company must close down before a tax application can be submitted.
You know what? I had this question on Facebook as well. I read through the Gazette. There is on the sheet, is there a place where they do ask you, what do you pay them? With the tax, they're also only going to give you like UIF, a top-up payment on what you already paid them. So it's not only just if you are totally lockdown. If you're still receiving some money, you must say to them, listen, like the UIF, I received 20% of my salary. So then they will only top up the employer, according to that scale they have from the minimum wage to the maximum, what they can. So, yeah.
And do you know, so there's an anonymous question here too around tariffs. If employers can top it up so that employees receive the full amount.
You know what?
Are employers allowed to top this payment up so employees receive the full salary, or a portion of UIF and portion from the employer?
Okay, I don't agree with that, because if you can pay your employees a bit of that money, why do you want to apply for TASH? TASH is purely to help people that cannot pay their employees. If they can pay their employees and they are able to it, they can't bargain on, I'm paying my employees, now the government is going to give me that money back. No. If you can pay your employees, the fund is there to help you to top up what you cannot pay. So no, I don't, as I said, you can't, no, I say no.
Yeah. Okay, good. So Don, if we can come back to you. There was a question around ownership. Did we cover that? By the way, I'm trying to kind of navigate here. Did we speak about the non-South African ownership percentage? You didn't speak about that. I mentioned that. So 18%, I think Nishi's question was 18% of one business is non-South African. Does that disqualify them?
Yes, Chris, I've just dropped a private email, message to the person who asked the question to drop me an email. But the criteria is that 100% have to be South Africans. However, these are guidelines. I've just responded to that and I gave my personal email address. The reason for that is, let's look at this particular enterprise. What is it that the enterprise is doing? And then if there's a way to go around it, then we can do that. But the broad guideline is that 100% has to be South African citizens.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we can keep going on the detail, but the detail is unfolding too. So if you are in the room and you see some of the questions in the Q&A, you can actually help us in answering those questions by typing what you've experienced. We've covered TARS, we've covered UIF. There's a question, can't remember from whom, asking about, from Julia, about in experience, and maybe we can ask people to type into the text chat what your experience is in terms of this too. What is the turnaround, Julia is asking, in terms of payouts for all these relief initiatives? So Don, I'm not sure if you're getting feedback on that. Nicolene, I know you're kind of at the forefront there, but everyone else in the room too, and on the Facebook page too, you can type in the text chat in the comments section of the Facebook page there what your experience is around turnaround. So maybe if you can refer to a specific scheme and what your experience has been, that would be helpful. So just click on the text chat button and type there, or if you're on Facebook, type into the comment section what your experience has been in terms of the turnaround when applying for some of these schemes. Can we start with you, Nicolene?
I know normally they say, especially with TASH, I think they give 5 days, but I'm not sure if they're going to pay out in 5 days. For me at this stage is they have so many applications. It's like, don't bargain on it. Get the money when you get it. My honest opinion.
Okay.
Don, I expected, I saw the minister is making big promises. Are you guys able to keep to promises?
Indeed. From our side, the turnaround time on our schemes is 7 working days. But let me, because now we're talking to business advisors who are advising entrepreneurs, our biggest challenge is we don't get all the documentation that we require. So I can give you figures as an example, because we've got those central emails that I spoke about. On the growth fund, on the inbox that we have created since last week, Thursday, we're sitting at about 3,000 inquiries, which are emails. And we go through that every day. And then our team realized that the majority of businesses that are submitting applications don't have those documentation. So it's very crucial when we advise our entrepreneurs to say documents that we do put there in the checklist are very crucial. We need to make sure that we've got that. Because once we have that, then you help us to turn around these things in 7 days. On the relief fund, the inbox, the last time we checked, which was last night, was sitting on about 6,000 emails. So what it's telling us is that a lot of businesses are under strain. But again, to make sure that you are ahead of the pack, when you advise your people, make sure that they give the documents. It's very important to achieve the 7-day turnaround time. We have credit meetings every a week. We can have 2 credit meetings. As and when we've got applications, we sit and look at those applications.
Great, thanks, Don. So if we are unfortunately running out of time, so we'll keep the text chat and the Q&A open if there are still questions that can be answered between Don and Nicolene until they have to go, because they're giving their time here for us today. So thanks, Nicolene and Don, for that. I've got a question, so there's a lot of detail and so on, and we've got this resource that we shared the link to people for getting access to around the detail of where to apply, what the conditions are, and so on, and we can build that resource as we go along. But perhaps a deeper question is how we as practitioners prepare ourselves to support our clients through this. So one of the things is to help them in getting access to relief. But then, Nicolene, thanks for reminding us about Plan B. And for Plan B, it comes a bit more down to us being able to offer support in a really difficult time. So if I may ask that, and if I can bring Andre and Tumelo, if you guys can also switch on your cameras, sort of now in bringing you into the picture. What we can do to empower ourselves in these difficult times, which are difficult times for ourselves. I'm not sure about the rest of you attending this webinar here today, but as a practitioner, I kind of struggle with my own stuff now, I've got family that are old and vulnerable, and if this, these are things that we think about. So how do you deal with that? So sorry for getting a bit emotional about this here, but Nicolene and Don, maybe you can share some of your thoughts there.
As I said, the essential at this stage is food. So I would say if you can assist with people, and really, in your community as well, if you really see that there's a family that's struggling and they don't have food, rather, buy them the basics, themselves, or, buy them a decent voucher from Checkers or Spar, or where they can go and buy their food. But the other problem is if they don't have food, they won't have transport. So yeah. I would suggest that you supply them the basic what we need to survive, and that is food. So then rather go and buy food for them and, give it to them. I know we're not allowed to be on the road unnecessary, but I can think that if there's no food in the house and you try to help, I think, they can be a bit lenient about that. And that's what I also tell my employers is, if you give a guy 500 Rand, he can go and buy food. And that is the essential.
Yeah. So on that level, sort of just as human beings, if we are well-resourced, that we can support others that are not. And I know there are some organizations that if you just Google that, you'll find a cause to support that. There's the school feeding schemes, for instance, that have to be focused now and so on. So they do take donations. So there's a way. I'm also thinking more on the practical front in terms of our support to business advisors. So I mean, us as business advisors supporting others. So maybe when we have the open mic, we can share. And if you are attending here, you'll be able to actually speak to. We can bring you into the room. So just a warning there. If you have something to share in terms of what you do to stay complete, and grounded in supporting others as attendee, you may have an opportunity to share that a bit later. But let's wrap up the discussion here. So I'm not sure, Don, if you have something else to add there, and then Andre and Tumelo, sort of if you guys want to come in, because we are going to move over to discussing IBASA issues now, and then we'll have a half an hour or so of open mic at the end. So just before we wrap up the COVID-19 relief schemes and access to that, just the last comment, sort of from you, Don, on how we as business advisors may support our clients better.
Thanks, Chris. I think I can just also echo what Nicolene said, to be human, because this is it's an opportunity when you look at it. We know we all became human. You're sitting at home and then you can reflect as a human being in terms of things that needs to be done. So I think that is the one part. And identify organizations, because you can do more in a group than just an individual. So I know in the area where I am, we're putting resources together as a group and identify. We are not far from Deep Throat, as an example. We've got an informal settlement in here. Let's support those guys. I mean, it's easy for us to show social distance and clean water, etc., etc. But there are people who don't have that luxury. They can't do that. So I think I'll echo what Nicolene is saying. But of critical importance, if we assist businesses that government, private sector, and public sector have created these relief funds for, if we can get that money into the economy under this situation, we are in a sustainable way of solving the problem. Remember now, it's fortunate business partners' intervention was oversubscribed quickly, but our one, it's we're sitting there, we've got more money to give out, and we just don't have the businesses that we need to give this money out to. So if we can, as practitioners and our clients being SMMEs, we can say, Sefa and government, they've got this R500 million to get out there into the market under this condition. If we can be instrumental in doing that, because once you do that, you're assisting a business that is employing somebody. So it's in a system that you are in a way partnering with us to get the money out there. So to me, I think let's strengthen this partnership with IBASA and the members and the SMMEs out there. Thank you, Chris.
Okay, so before we get to the IBASA side of things, let me just ask this question. This is a question about our ability to, during this time, also attend to our own development. We can join webinars, a lot of them nowadays, and so on, and those things are for free. But are we able to actually use this time to develop ourselves? So there's a specific question here that I'm launching a poll on now, so you can vote on that, sort of just to get an idea of if you're able to attend to training yourself now, sort of, so here's some practical training programs in a bracket of a price, sort of, so is something like that suitable for you or not? You can participate in that poll as we go along. I'll keep it open for a while. But let's move on. So if there are last thoughts from you, Nicole or Don, on the specifics of the topic, like access to resources and the questions that may not have been answered yet. Sorry, guys, some of them are quite detailed, and that would be in the resource that we shared the link to, so you may be able to find it there. But thanks again, Nicolene and Don, for joining us. So if there's a last comment from you guys before we move over to the IBASA news, to our new chairperson.
I just wanna agree with Don and say, get your foot in the door. Apply, because you have, as he said, there is funding and they want to give it out to businesses to, keep the economical side going. So, I would say apply. And then first of all, I would say, do what the government told us to do. Stay safe, stay at home. And from the business side, from my side, unfortunately, I have to leave now because we are busy with applications because I'm still running from home on full ground. If you have any questions, you can email me. I'm going to give you our website address. You can go there. All our contact details are there, and I will be able to help you and assist you. It's www.nnspa.co.za. Please contact me if you have any questions. No question is a stupid question. So I will assist where I can and provide info where I can. So yeah, I'm available if you have any questions.
Great, thank you very much. And if you want to, by the time that you sign, I'll just put in that address in the text chat and people can see it there too, Nicolene. Thanks for that. And Don, a last word from you.
Yeah, thank you. All I can say is that let's not forget to pray. Let's pray for our families, let's pray for the country, let's pray for the world. It's very much important because this is it's time to humble ourselves as human beings. So let's not forget that. The other thing, practically apply again, apply. Let's get this money out there in a responsible way. And it's good that as IBASA and the members and the SME community, we can have a structure where we get this money out there. Let's get this money out there. What it's doing is it's saving a job somewhere for the relief. It's actually giving us the capacity to provide the commodities, whether it's sanitizers, whether it's the mask, whatever it is. Let's build the capacity for the country to be sustainable because we only have ourselves. The food security issue now, let's have those businesses that are going to create food for us, and we don't have to rush to the supermarkets to say that we overstock because we're scared. We have a good country, we've got a good weather, we've got good everything. Let's take this opportunity to do what we have to do. Thank you.
Right, and thanks for your time again, Nicolene and Don. As it evolves, things are updated. So there will be a video a recording of this that we'll share. There will also be a post-webinar blog post on the IBASA website. So in a few days, you'll be able to see that. If you are looking for updates, hopefully information can be shared through the framework that we created. But this is a topic that's not going to go away soon. So let me bring in Tumelo Tipsi, our new IBASA chairperson, and Andre Dupré, our MD. So let's, if I may, I'm sorry to jump onto you, but what do you take away from what we spent just over an hour on now? So by the way, attendees, very important that as a professional body, you're part of the community and that you join in the professionalization of this industry, which IBASA stands for. But before we talk about the details of IBASA's plans and so on, Tumelo, what are your thoughts considering the discussion that we've had this morning? You can just speak, Tumelo. Looks like Tumelo's connection froze. So can we come to you? Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Now we hear you, yes.
Are we in? Yeah, thank you. I was just saying, yes, this is a great opportunity for an organization like IBASA. Are we winning?
Yeah. So what are your thoughts considering our topic of discussion today?
Hello?
Before we go into the IBASA specific issues? Tumelo, I'm going to stop your video because it looks like your connection isn't so great, but then at least we can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We hear you well, yes.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I was just going to say, first of all, let me start by
your connection is... your connection is quite bad now. So I wonder if you can make sure that all other people around you that are using the same interconnection and you are not doing so, then we'll come back to you just now. So Andre, if we can come to you.
Hi, Christoph, can you hear me?
We hear you well, thanks.
Great stuff. Christoph, this was a very, very insightful sessions, and I really appreciate the fact that Don and Nicolene and yourselves prepared so well for the session. My daughter asked me a question on, Dad, where are we? What's happening? Now, I don't know. We haven't been through this, not in my lifetime. I don't think my parents went through this in their lifetime. It may have been one of the wars. This is almost like worse than a war. But I think I really appreciate the fact that there are ways that there are two things that I take from here today. The one is the things that we do for the moment. There are things that we have to do, that we try and get help where we can with people, reach out to people like Don and Nicolene and many others of the business advisors from IBASA. But I think it's also time then that we should reflect on where we are as businesses. Where are we as small business? Where are we as individuals? Because even if you are an individual, you have to re-look what you're going to do tomorrow. We will get past this. It's going to come to an end. And I truly believe, as Don said, that we're going to pray through this thing and we're going to see changes. But get your models, get your business models sorted now for tomorrow. Don't put yourself in debt. Try and reduce where you can. Live for the moment what you can, share where you can. But then this time can also be used for building relationships. We can do things pro bono. We can. Now, it's very challenging, perhaps, that we say pro bono, but do I do it for free? There may be entrepreneurs far more in need than myself. Can I help him? Can I ask, or can he have the freedom to reach out to me to be able to complete the form? But I promise you that tomorrow you're going to have customers that you've never seen, because that's the way that you build relationships. That's the way that you get new business in. Build a relationship today for tomorrow.
And Andre, IBASA has got an initiative going around that.
Yes, one of the things that came up, and I'm very, as I said to our new chairman this morning, that I really appreciate the initiatives that he's taking. One of the things that came up about a week and a half or a week ago was that how do we reach, or how do we bring the two people together? How do we bring our business advisors and entrepreneurs in need together? So we quickly reached out to one of our service providers to put forms together for us on our website. The website, then, if you go onto the website, there's a form for I am prepared as a business advisor to do business advising for entrepreneurs, preferably pro bono. But also we do have another form which says, if I'm an entrepreneur, who can we reach out to? This is my need. So we already started collating the information. On a daily basis in the background or the back end of our systems, we now collate data from business advisors and business entrepreneurs in need. And then on a daily basis, we will be going through what is coming in and then try and bring together the most relevant or the person with the best knowledge, perhaps in my area of expertise that I need, bring the two together, the business advisor plus the entrepreneur.
Right. Yeah, Tumelo, so we've got you back. Thanks, Andre. So that's on the website. That's the IBASA. Go to the IBASA website.
It's on the website, www.ibasa.org.za.
Great. Thanks, Andre. Sorry, Tumelo, so we lost you there for a while, but you're back and the picture looks much better now. So let's hear if we can hear you too. Tumelo? Oh, frozen again. The pipeline from the Free State isn't so good today.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you. I'm going to again switch off your camera, Tumelo, so we can hear you.
Switch off the camera again. Okay, let's go. Let's try that.
At least, even the more important part. I mean, I know you've got a lovely face, but
sure.
We have to hear
lovely
you.
face. That's fine. How is it sounding now? Am I much better?
We can hear you well now, yeah. So welcome.
Yeah, let's try and find a better.
Would you like to share with us as new chairperson of IBASA, you know, sort of what's going to happen in the next phase?
Yes, Christoph, can you hear me?
We hear you well.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so first of all, I was still acknowledging Don and the call for coming through. We really appreciate their assistance and their availability to come and help us to navigate through these very difficult times. So on the IBASA side, I just wanted to touch on a few things. The first one is that these webinars are very important from our point of view, in that we see them as a way of creating value for our members. Although we are aware that we need to look beyond the webinars, there must be other ways that we can create value for our members. But from these webinars, we need to take lessons that we as IBASA can implement, even in our own businesses. I think as business advisors, we need to implement some of the lessons that are coming through these webinars. We will still continue with the webinars into the future. And then it is very encouraging, I must say, to see the numbers of attendees increasing every time with the webinars, because that is what the intention is, to get our members to get together so that they can be empowered to be able to go out there and assist businesses that are so much in need of our services. And I'm inviting you all who are attending the webinars to still give us detailed feedback on the lessons you are taking from the webinars and how the webinars are assisting you. We also want to know how we can improve and remain relevant. And not only now during the COVID-19 challenges that we're experiencing, but even beyond this pandemic period. We want to use this webinars also to increase visibility and increase membership. As IBASA, we are aware that we come from an era where a lot of people may not have been aware of the existence of IBASA, and there's many people that are interested in joining IBASA, and we want to reach out to them, you know, through these webinars and say, come on board, we are ready to provide you with services to add value to your businesses so that you can be more effective out there. All right, so this specific webinar obviously links directly to what Andre, the MD, has touched on briefly in terms of our COVID-19 mentorship support program that will be launched. Hopefully, we plan to launch it at the beginning of next month, and it will be rolled out countrywide. It will be coordinated at a central point. And I'm now calling on all members to please look out for communication regarding this. There's already an initiative posted on our website where we've invited members to register their interest and their availability to assist with this program. And then we'd like to thank those who have already responded positively, but there's still a bigger need. And so we need a bigger capacity to successfully deliver on what the intention is in terms of supporting businesses. Not only we know that government is coming on board with funding, but we are aware that the impact of these times that we are challenged with goes beyond the funding or the finances itself. So that's why we are coming on board as IBASA with this mentorship support program. The program will be done in in partnership with stakeholders. We are engaging some key stakeholders, and one of them is SEDA and Sefa. Don is aware that we have started negotiations with them, because this is a big project that we do not want to do on our own. And I think noting on some of the comments that have been raised by the attendees in terms of collaborations, we will definitely form collaborations with other professionals in the form of professional bodies, and also other professionals also that are relevant in terms of providing this envisaged support to the members and to the businesses, the business community at large. As we take the lead as IBASA, like it's supposed to be, you know, and I'm calling on the members to come on board so that together we can make IBASA great again, because IBASA belongs right up there with the best, and as a leader, we need to help each other. And obviously more details, as I indicated, will be available on our website. I urge you to visit it often for updates in this regard. And the big question is there life beyond the lockdown and maybe beyond the pandemic, the COVID-19, especially for small businesses? It's not only small businesses that are suffering, but we'd like to maybe just indicate that small businesses are suffering the most. And there are many businesses that would not survive on their own, especially these very difficult times. And that is the fear of many people. And it's a genuine fear that you can't rule out, that it will not happen. But it's programs and activities like this one that will help to make all the difference for some of these businesses. The state relief schemes, as alluded to by Don from Sefa, and also as we've outlined, it was outlined by Nicole, the previous speaker, in terms of the availability of the relief schemes, but the IBASA-led support as well, and then other similar organizations. It's all of us in collaboration that will help these businesses to still see life and have life beyond the challenges that we are faced with currently. And definitely it will never be business as usual. One thing is for sure, and it's certain, that we need to look at new ways and different ways of providing services. What if, for an example, I made an example of a church. If one of your businesses clients that you are supporting is a church, how would you advise them to adapt in these times, for example, to still continue rendering the services that they do to still achieve their objectives? Well, maybe not as a business, but I mean, it's a non-profit organization, and we know that churches need funding to survive. They need funding to execute their business objectives. But I see JMT is in the mix as a pastor and the leader of the church. Maybe yes, some advice there for other churches in terms of how we can advise them to adapt their way of doing business. And the next one is that, you know, we can't go back to normal. It is no longer there. You will notice that you know, people are waiting for lockdown to be over. They want to get back to what is normal. But for many businesses, especially small businesses that are our clientele that we are servicing, there's no longer back to normal. Things have changed, and it will not be business as usual. Things will change for the good, for the better. Things have changed forever. It will never be the same. So we have to create a new normal in line with the new world order, you know, considering that things are moving in a certain direction. I want to urge the professionals, especially IBASA members, to take the lead at these very difficult times. And many of us have been working from home already, I think, as business advisors, but not necessarily our staff. Sometimes you find that we still have to put in place measures and tools that will help us to manage performance for our staff and to ensure that the staff are productive and effective while they're working from home. And what about our clientele? Are we bringing our clientele on board? How are we empowering our clientele to be able to work remotely? You know, because traditional ways may not be relevant anymore. We may not be able to go back and do business as we used to before. And embracing the fourth industrial revolution, we need to incorporate the models in the way we use or we conduct business. 5G, you know, from what we hear and what we know, the little we know, the possibilities go beyond what is imaginable. So we need to align ourselves and position ourselves strategically so we can take full advantage. All right, so there's need for tools, invest in tech, empower your people, your staff, your clientele. And I think in my last slides, I want to say thank you to those members who have responded to my call to get in touch. I've sent out the chairman's address and I've received many valuable inputs to date from various members. Please keep it coming. We are here to serve you. We are here to serve your interests as members of IBASA. And please come and interact with us. Our website is ibasa.org.za and my email is chairman@ibasa.org.za. Thank you.